So you go from the inquisitive why to the accusatory why to the desperate why. The why where you're on your face saying, God, I need your help.
Amen.
I need your help. There are those three whys. And when you and I face difficulties, many times the first thing we say is, God, what's going on? And God's silent. And so then we accuse God, we get frustrated, and we demand a response from Him. Accuse Him of letting us down, yet God is silent.
Yeah.
And then finally we realize, and we come to that realization that we need Him more than anything else in our lives, and we are going to make it through this situation.
Yeah.
This is the place where God wants you and I to get to, where we're at a place where we recognize we are 100% dependent upon Him, and we have nothing on our own. And it is in that place where God simply whispers, trust me. I'm going to look at the book of Lamentations, starting with chapter 3. I'm going to read to you the first 9 verses. I know it's a lot of verses, but I'm going somewhere. I am the man who has seen affliction under the rod of his wrath. He has driven and brought me into darkness without any light. Surely against me he turns his hand again and again the whole day long. He has made my flesh and my skin waste away. He has broken my bones. He has besieged and enveloped me with bitterness and tribulation. He has made me dwell in darkness like the dead of long ago. He has walled me about so that I cannot escape. He has made my chains heavy. Though I call and cry for help, He shuts out my prayer. He has blocked my ways with blocks of stone. He has made my paths crooked. Now this author is Jeremiah, and Jeremiah had seen now the destruction of Israel that God had prophesied. And here he is being brutally honest, and he is acknowledging, God, I am absolutely disillusioned with you. What in the world is going on? What's happening? In fact, he gets to the place where he actually thinks that God has it out for him personally. That somehow God is against him. If you read those first 20 verses of chapter 3 of Lamentations, you're going, my goodness, this guy was down at the bottom of the pit of despair, and he was questioning God's goodness. He was questioning God's methods. He was questioning if God himself was even against Jeremiah, who had been a faithful servant. When you're at that place where your anger has turned to sobbing. You know what I'm talking about? You're at that place where your anger has turned to brokenness. Come on, somebody has to know what I'm talking about this morning.
Yeah.
Where you're at that place where you were mad and you were disillusioned, but now you're at the place where you're simply broken, and instead of screaming, you're crying tears. Instead of hollering, you're broken before God, crying out before Him. That is the brokenness that Jeremiah is experiencing. That desperation. These are my circumstances, God. Where does it go from here? And this is what I love. In Lamentations chapter 3. I want you to look at me at verses 21 through 24. And if this message is talking to you today, I want you to highlight or underline these verses. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in Him. Now look at that for a second. He's whining, and he's broken, and he's in despair. But all of that changes in verse 21 with one word. And that word is what? But. Yes, God, I'm broken. And yes, God, I'm hurting. Yes, God, I'm crying. But, underline it, highlight it, put a square around it. of despair, broken and crying out, and God simply said, trust me, and I don't know how to trust him, and I don't know why to trust him. And God is, Jeremiah tells us here that we have hope. Why? Because great is your faithfulness.
Amen.
Today, the cornerstone of our trust in God, when we're at that point of despair, is his faithfulness. Because I'm going to tell you right now, from personal experience, God is not always going to tell you how you're going to get from point A to point B. He's not going to tell you how he's going to solve the problem, but what he is going to say is, trust me. And so why do I have to trust him? Why should I trust God? The primary reason that I can trust God is what Jeremiah said, great is his faithfulness.
Amen.
Because my God is not like man that he should lie or that he should act like man. My God will never let us down. He will never forsake us. And he will never leave us out to dry. My God is faithful.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
I love that last definition because it says adhering or true to fact. Listen, God is the fact.
Yes. Amen.
Listen, somebody receive that today. God is the standard.
Amen.
He is the standard of faithfulness.
Amen.
He is the fact of faithfulness. He is the original on faithfulness.
Yes.
He is the only accurate definition of faithfulness.
Amen.
So if God is the source and the definition of faithfulness, then I must realize he can be and is faithful to me.
Amen.
That's why Jeremiah wrote in 22 and 23, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases, his mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. That word translated mercies encompasses true love, grace, mercy, goodness, forgiveness, truth, compassion, and faithfulness. It never ends. It lasts forever. God is dependable. Look, your husband, your wife is going to let you down. Your friends are going to let you down. They're going to hurt your feelings. They're going to make you upset. They're not going to come through sometime when you want them to come through. Your job, your employer is going to let you down. But God will never let you down because God does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So that means if he was there yesterday, he's still there today. And if he's there today, he's going to be there tomorrow. He is dependable.
Amen.
I need to know that that faithfulness will never come to an end. No matter how bleak a situation is, it is God's loving kindness that will always prevail because of his faithfulness.
Amen.
Even with the nation of Israel, whom God had to destroy and chastise, it was his faithfulness that has and continues to redeem them. They were scattered, they were assimilated, they were destroyed, but God has made them a new nation, and his plan for them is still in progress. So no matter where you find yourself at today, God will finish with you what he has started.
Amen.
You may find yourself in the desert. You may find yourself lonely. You may find yourself depressed and oppressed and afflicted. But God says, before you were in it, I was there. And even in the midst of it, I'm there. And I will be holding your hand when I take you out the other side.
Amen.
Amen.
Wow. Praise the Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
He always finishes what he starts.
Amen.
And he will ensure that you and I become what he has predetermined for us to be.
Amen.
God cannot be thwarted. God cannot be stopped. For when he sets his mind to do something, he will accomplish it. Great is his faithfulness.
Amen.
My portion.
Amen.
Jeremiah elaborates on this. And Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 16, he writes, the portion of Jacob is not like them. For he is the maker of all things, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. Lord of hosts is his name. As no matter how Israel sinned and failed God, God's plan for them was going to be accomplished, and God's plan for them was good.
Amen.
The key word being good. Because with God, it's not simply good enough. Oh, someone listen to what I'm saying there this morning. God is not satisfied with good the way that you and I see good. See, he elevates the word good.
Yes, he does.
All right? So, God isn't saying, well, just enough to get by, just good enough. We'll let them squander and waller, and they'll kind of accomplish what I have for them to do. No, God's word of good is what he set forth will not only be good, it will be exceedingly abundantly above all that I ask or think good.
Amen.
Right? His greatness elevates the goodness beyond what you and I can possibly comprehend or understand.
Amen.
So God isn't a God of good enough. God is a God of so much good you won't be able to handle it all. God.
Amen.
He's the God that gives you a press down, shake it together, build up, and run it over.
Amen.
He provides that kind of grace and that kind of mercy and that kind of forgiveness. He provides that kind of provision. Because with God, it's never just good enough. Psalm 16, 5 and 6 says, O Lord, you are the portion of my inheritance and my cup. You maintain my lot. The lines have fallen to me in pleasant places. Yes, I have a good inheritance. God has your best interest at heart. But sometimes it hurts getting us to the place he has for us.
Amen.
Now, by the time when we get to that place, we're having a party, tap, dance, hoedown because of how great it is. But from that getting there, my goodness, I'm down to crawling on my knees, my tongue crawling across the floor, barely can take another step because I don't know how in the world I'm going to make that nuts move forward. Because God wants me dependent upon him.
Amen.
So this morning when we're asking ourselves, God, the question, where we're in our despair, when we're broken, and we don't understand what's going on, and we're hurting, and we know that we need God's help, and we're saying, God, why? Just remember this, the answer is always, he's faithful.
Yeah.
God, why am I like this? He's faithful. God, why did I get laid off? He's faithful. God, why is my boss a jerk? He's faithful. God, why am I sick? He's faithful. God, why are my children turned out to be heathens right now? He's faithful. God, why does my household seem like it's a mess? He's faithful. God, whatever the question is that I have for God, the answer is always, he's faithful.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this message. We hope that you enjoyed it and were blessed by it. Each month we have people from all over the world who listen to the messages made available. If you've been blessed by this ministry, would you consider making a donation of any amount to help support us as we continue to reach the lost for Christ? Donations can be made online at www.reviveoc.org or by check at Revive Outreach Church, 411 Chatham Heights Road, Suite 101, Fredericksburg, Virginia 22405. Thank you for your prayers and your continued support. May God richly bless you.